Have you ever had something important to do, and instead of doing it, you found yourself doing literally anything else? Maybe you've told yourself you'll start tomorrow, next week, or after you've had more time to prepare. Or maybe you know exactly what needs to be done, but you just can't seem to make yourself begin. If this sounds familiar, you're experiencing one of the most common and misunderstood human behaviors. Delaying things, or procrastination, isn't about laziness or poor time management. There's a deep psychology behind it. People who delay things are often labeled as unmotivated or irresponsible, but the truth is far more complex. If you're someone who struggles with procrastination, understanding what's really happening in your mind can help you see yourself with more compassion, and it might even help you break the pattern. Let's explore the psychology of people who delay things and discover what this behavior is really trying to tell you. On the surface, delaying things seems irrational. You know the task needs to be done, you know that putting it off will only make it worse, yet you still avoid it. This contradiction is at the heart of procrastination. It's not about not knowing what to do, it's about emotional avoidance. When you delay something, you're not avoiding the task itself, you're avoiding the uncomfortable feelings that come with it. Psychologically, procrastination is a form of emotion regulation. When you think about doing a task that feels overwhelming, boring, or anxiety-inducing, your brain registers discomfort, and your brain's primary job is to keep you comfortable and safe. So it steers you towards something easier, something that provides immediate relief or pleasure. Scrolling through your phone, cleaning your room, making a snack. These activities aren't inherently important, but they feel better in the moment than facing the task you're avoiding. This is why procrastination often increases when the stakes are high. The more important something is, the more anxiety it can create, and the more anxiety you feel, the stronger your urge to avoid it. It's a protective mechanism, but it's also a trap, because the temporary relief you get from avoiding the task is always followed by guilt, stress, and increased pressure as deadlines approach. There's also the issue of perfectionism. Many people who delay things are perfectionists at heart. They have high standards for themselves, and they worry that their work won't meet those standards. So instead of starting and risking imperfection, they delay. They tell themselves they need more time, more preparation, more clarity, but what they're really doing is protecting themselves from the possibility of failure or judgment. If you never start, you never have to face the reality that your work might not be perfect. Another psychological factor is the gap between present self and future self. When you delay something, you're essentially passing the burden to your future self. Your present self gets to relax and avoid discomfort, while your future self deals with the consequences. This happens because our brains struggle to connect emotionally with our future selves. Future you feels like a different person, someone distant and abstract. So present you makes decisions that prioritize immediate comfort over long-term well-being. Now
The first trait is fear of failure. People who delay things are often deeply afraid of not succeeding. They set high expectations for themselves, and the thought of falling short feels unbearable. So they avoid starting, because starting means facing the possibility that they might not be good enough. This fear is often rooted in past experiences. Maybe they were criticized harshly when they made mistakes as a child. Maybe they internalized the belief that their worth is tied to their achievements. Whatever the cause, the fear becomes paralyzing. The irony is that by delaying, they guarantee the very outcome they're trying to avoid. Rushed work done at the last minute is rarely their best work, but at least they have an excuse. If it's not perfect, they can blame the lack of time rather than their abilities. The second trait is difficulty with discomfort. People who procrastinate often have low tolerance for uncomfortable emotions. When something feels hard, boring, or stressful, they immediately seek relief. They're not avoiding the task itself, they're avoiding how the task makes them feel. This difficulty with discomfort often extends beyond procrastination. These individuals might struggle with other forms of delayed gratification, like sticking to a diet, maintaining an exercise routine, or saving money. They prioritize short-term comfort over long-term benefits because their nervous system is wired to seek immediate relief from distress. The third trait is all-or-nothing thinking. People who delay things often believe that if they can't do something perfectly or completely, there's no point in starting. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect amount of time, but perfect conditions rarely arrive, so they keep waiting and the task keeps getting delayed. This all-or-nothing thinking creates unrealistic standards. It ignores the reality that most meaningful work is done imperfectly, in small increments over time. Progress doesn't require perfection, it requires starting. But for people trapped in this mindset, anything less than ideal feels like failure. The fourth trait is weak connection to future consequences. People who procrastinate often struggle to emotionally connect with the future. They know intellectually that delaying will cause problems later, but that knowledge doesn't translate into action. The future feels abstract and distant, while the present feels immediate and real. This disconnect is partly neurological. The parts of the brain responsible for planning and future-oriented thinking develop more slowly than the parts responsible for immediate rewards. But it's also reinforced by habit. The more you prioritize present comfort over future benefit, the stronger that pattern becomes. The fifth trait is underlying anxiety or depression. Procrastination is often a symptom of deeper mental health struggles. When you're anxious, even small tasks can feel overwhelming. When you're depressed, you might lack the energy or motivation to start anything at all. In these cases, procrastination isn't about poor time management, it's about your brain struggling to function under the weight of mental distress. People often judge themselves harshly for procrastinating without recognizing that they're dealing with something much bigger than laziness. If you find yourself chronically unable to start tasks and it's affecting multiple areas of your life, it might be worth exploring whether anxiety or depression is playing a role. Understanding these traits can help you see procrastination differently. It's not a moral failing, it's a coping mechanism, one that provided short-term relief but creates long-term problems. And like any coping mechanism, it can be changed once you understand what's driving it.
If you're someone who delays things, there are practical strategies that can help. One of the most effective is breaking tasks into smaller steps. When something feels overwhelming, your brain wants to avoid it. But if you break it into tiny, manageable pieces, it becomes less threatening. Instead of write the entire report, try open the document. Instead of clean the whole house, try clean one surface. Small steps reduce the emotional resistance and make starting easier. Another helpful approach is the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. This builds momentum and reduces the mental clutter of things you're avoiding. For larger tasks, commit to working on them for just 2 minutes. Often starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, continuing becomes easier. It's also important to practice self-compassion. Beating yourself up for procrastinating only adds shame to the mix, which makes the avoidance worse. Instead, acknowledge that you're struggling and remind yourself that it's okay to find things difficult. Talk to yourself the way you'd talk to a friend, with kindness, encouragement, and understanding. Research shows that procrastination is incredibly common. Studies suggest that around 20% of adults are chronic procrastinators, and nearly everyone procrastinates occasionally. You're not alone in this struggle, and the fact that it's so widespread tells us something important. It's a deeply human response to stress, fear, and discomfort. History offers examples of people who struggled with procrastination. Leonardo da Vinci was known for leaving projects unfinished. Victor Hugo had to have his clothes taken away so he couldn't leave the house, forcing him to stay home and write. These were brilliant, accomplished people, and they still battled the same tendency to delay. Procrastination doesn't mean you're incapable, it means you're human. If you're someone who delays things and you've been carrying shame about it, let this be your reminder that you're not broken, you're not lazy, you're struggling with something real, a pattern of avoiding discomfort that made sense at some point but isn't serving you anymore.
And with awareness, practice, and self-compassion, you can shift that pattern. So the next time you find yourself putting something off, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really avoiding? Is it the task, or is it the feeling the task brings up? And then ask, what's one small step I can take right now? You don't have to do the whole thing, you just have to start. And starting is often enough to break the cycle. If this resonates with you, take a moment to reflect. What do you tend to delay? And what feelings come up when you think about doing it? Understanding your patterns is the first step toward change. And if you found value in this exploration, consider subscribing to Mura Psychology. We help you understand the behaviors that shape your life. Remember, delaying things isn't a flaw, it's a signal that something feels hard, scary, or overwhelming. And when you learn to listen to that signal with compassion instead of judgment, you can start to change. That choice is yours.